the agenda are hot takes.
Yeah.
We've had, like I said, we've had success a little bit for some of these hot takes.
Yeah.
I think we're shooting 50% from the field for 40-something% from the
Yeah.
field, something like that.
Not too bad.
Three of. Oh, we had three for
Yeah,
each first week.
Yeah.
First week's watch.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about the first week.
The pilot, like you said.
Yeah, pilot.
So yeah, you go ahead, take it away. Your first hot take.
All right. So I'm wearing this jersey. I had a hot take of his last week. LeBron James is going to be your 2021 Kia MVP.
Should have, honestly.
He should have been it this year, but this is all obviously pending load management too, because we don't know when the season's going to start. We don't know how soon it's going to be, and then LeBron, they just had the full playoff run, so they got to rest some of their stars at some point.
I did
Give them
see
a little bit of an off season.
you brought that up. I did see some first take. I think that they might start their season on Martin Luther King Day.
Oh, okay.
So that's January something.
Damn, no Christmas basketball.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
But I don't think there should anyways. I think you got at least 2021. You got to start playing.
Yeah. I no, I completely understand it. It's just it's so unfortunate.
Christmas Day basketball is
Yeah.
pretty fun.
Yeah, those are usually the best matchups, so we're not going to have a day like that next year, which sucks. But it is what it is. But either way, I think LeBron James, if not now, when for him? Because he's 37. You gotta catch up to father time at some point. Although he's defying all of that because he still hasn't had a decline yet.
I don't know if Father Time's in his arsenal.
Yeah, and he'll be one to make history one more time while he still has the opportunity to do so before he really hands the reins off to Anthony Davis and has him as the marquee guy in that offense. But he's gonna look to do it one more time. This year's voting is only gonna add fuel to that fire.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's gonna be another guy to really be on a mission.
You want to do your second one, or you want me to go to mine?
I don't know. What do you want?
Go do your second.
Okay.
Yep.
So my second one, we've talked about him a lot during the show. Le'Veon Bell is going to be the same old New York Jets Bell that we've seen to this point.
Interesting.
We haven't had a single glimpse of 2017 Bell since the holdout, and he's too far removed from his glory days. He's too far. That was 3 years ago. He didn't really the Jets weren't nearly as bad as they were last year, and he still wasn't doing anything. And his confidence has got to be a little shaken. His stats have taken such a hit, and now he's in the Kansas City offense. I wrote this down before he signed with Kansas City, but that Kansas City offense already has a future back. So he's going to be number 2 at the depth chart. You're only really going to probably see him in the passing game. He's going to be the same old Le'Veon.
Yeah, it's a shame. I like watching. He was such a good guy to watch.
Mm-hmm.
He was so shifty, so crafty. Yeah, he has not been the same.
I think the best success he's seen since 2017 was his debut album.
That's a good point.
I think that's the most success you see, and something that he's actually worked towards.
Yeah, he's been terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So for my hot takes, I'm gonna stick with the pattern of picking an NFL game because Dolphins beat the 49ers.
Okay.
It's a big upset. So I was looking through some matchups this week. There wasn't a ton that I liked, but I'm gonna go with the Texans. They're gonna beat the undefeated Titans. So the Titans looked great. They looked dominant actually last week against the Bills. 42 points.
42 points on a defense that was top 5 in the NFL.
Yeah. So I wasn't as confident with my Dolphins. Not my Dolphins, but the Dolphins beating the 49ers last week. But I have been a big fan of the Texans though, even though they're 1-4. I think they're gonna get a little better. I think they just need to let go of their freaking dilemma with Bill O'Brien.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty funny that they fire him and then they win the first
they
game.
win a game. It shows really how much they were being brought down by him.
But I'm a big Deshaun Watson fan. I think he's gonna keep getting better. So that's what hot take. I'm gonna go with the Texans are gonna beat the undefeated Titans.
That's a hot take for sure.
Exactly.
Or it might be a freezing cold take depending on how you see that.
Yeah, I could go bad or could somehow turn good. And then my second hot take, I'm gonna go with Dwayne Haskins. It will be traded this season.
This season?
Yeah. So I think he's a third string quarterback now. There's not really going up from there. I think Kyle Allen, and then if he doesn't turn out good, they're gonna say like, wow, it's gonna be a great story. Let's give Alex Smith the reins.
Mm-hmm.
I think Haskins is done. I think they're gonna try to work a trade with him. Don't know who, so I can't give you a definitive answer for that. But I think he's gonna go somewhere else and serve as the backup for the rest of the year.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. My Niners might take him. I wouldn't be be surprised if they went that route.
Yeah.
They don't really have a true. I mean, TJ Beathard is alright, but
Yeah.
like that's not a guy that you. Because Jimmy G is, I thought, like I said earlier in the show, I thought we should have drafted Jordan Love to begin with, and Jimmy G looks like he's about ready to implode.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that was a team that emerged from that, if
Yeah.
any. I think you're going to see that more in the offseason.
Yeah.
I think that's more of an offseason trade to
Yeah.
make, because there's not really, you don't really trade for a quarterback during the NFL season, or like for trying to make a run
Yeah.
at least.
Like I said, I was just trying to think because the trade deadline I think is coming up soon. I don't know exactly when. I'm assuming it's the middle of probably week 8 or 9.
Mm.
But that was hot take. Dwayne Haskins, he's the third string quarterback now after being a first round pick. I think they're done with him, so they're gonna move him somewhere else.
Respectable.
All right, now I think we're gonna get into one of our favorite topics each. Embrace the debate.
Yep.
And what other debate to have now after the Lakers win the championship than talk about the GOAT conversation.
Mm-hmm. We got it. It's got to be brought up now. LeBron got his 4th ring. He's getting up there, and legacy and everything else, and he seems to be running the table.
How do you want to start this?
Well, where do you stand?
So, good start. So I've always thought this, but I think even more this year, LeBron is the greatest of all time. I would say my sole argument, I mean, other than the fact that he has probably better stats, or almost, he has better stats, better complete stats than I would say MJ, and I think you're going to mention obviously Kobe.
Mhm.
I love Kobe's the man.
Mm-hmm.
But and also Kareem should be in that discussion. But I think LeBron has so much records. Like by the end of his career, he could be first or second in points. He's 3rd now. He could pass Kareem. He could end up being like 2nd in assists, but no one's gonna pass Stockton.
Yeah.
And he could. I think he's gonna end up with like 40,000 points, 10,000 plus assists, 10,000 plus rebounds, which is unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, so I didn't talk about it, but the big thing, I think LeBron is the greatest basketball player.
Okay.
And so, I mean, you have the GOAT conversation, greatest of all time, but when I think of that, I think of the best basketball player is LeBron James.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of on board with you here, but I'm gonna make 2 points here.
Yep.
LeBron, this whole time, I think he just passed them. Like I think he did it with
Yeah.
this year. I think he has the 2 hardest championships in NBA history. He's got the MVPs and everything else to back it up, and the records that he's on pace for he's gonna blow them out of the water by the time his career is all said and done. Especially at the pace that he's at now, 2nd in MVP at 36 years old, year 17, doesn't really seem to be
First in assist, lead
anytime soon. But until this year, he was chasing both Kobe and MJ. He was chasing them. And people don't really seem to understand that, because I think Kobe borderline surpassed Michael by the time his career was all said and done.
Really?
I think he had a much harder path. He was better than, by the time he was 30, had better statistics in points, assists, rebounds,
Well, he had 3 finals.
and range
Yeah.
by the time he was 30 years old. I think once he reached that 33 mark, and once he tore the Achilles, everything kind of fell flat, and he kind of lost a lot of argument. And I think if you would have seen him play and fully healthy the last 4 years that he had from the last 3 years from 2013 when he blew the Achilles to 2016 when he retired, this would be more in consideration. And he was a better playoff performer until he reached 30 as well. Like I said, he had more rings, he had more points in the playoffs as well, and Jordan struggled to get out of into the finals for a while, for his first 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
For the first 7 years, and Kobe was there in his 2nd and 3rd.
I mean, he did have Shaq. Well, I'm not taking it away from him.
You can make the same. MJ didn't have anybody else
Yeah.
but Pippen by his side his entire career.
Yeah. No,
So I think Kobe had to carry a lot of, because outside of Kobe and Shaq, who was their 3rd scorer? Derek Fisher?
didn't they have Robert Horry in here too?
Robert Horry.
But I mean, I think the big thing with Kobe is that those 3 years, like, he wasn't the best player on the NBA championship team.
Yeah, he was.
Come on, Shaq won 3 finals
Yeah.
MVPs.
He won 3 Finals MVPs, but he was still a lead.
He was still a league. No, yeah, absolutely right.
He was still one of the best shooting guards, if not the best shooting guard in the league,
Yeah.
unless you're not counting Allen Iverson as more of a point guard instead of a shooting guard.
I like to think it was a point guard.
Yeah. So I think he was one of the best shooting guards in the league. close. And at his age, you hadn't seen anything like him since Jordan.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, he was second coming of Jordan.
yeah, he was blown out of control by the time he was 21.
Yeah.
And he wasn't, like, he didn't play his rookie season. So just imagine if he would have got the minutes his rookie
Mhm.
season, you would have had a long career that was just based on longevity and consistency and scoring.
Yeah.
I think he's the greatest scorer ever.
No.
I would say he's the best scorer ever. He can make any shot in any given situation from any angle.
See, scorer is tough because you obviously got MJ and Kobe, but you got to put KD in there as well. Just because of this, like he's probably like a best pure scorer.
But that's more towards his physique more than his.
True.
because I would say KD's the toughest to guard, but Kobe's the better scorer.
So if you had one bucket to get, you take
Kobe.
I think I'd take MJ. But I mean, I have no problem with you taking Kobe, but
I think he's more equipped and he's made a lot more game winners. He shot a lot of game winners too. So I mean, his field goal percentage in the last couple minutes is going to be a little lower than MJ and LeBron's, but that's because he's not taking the shot as much. You had MJ with the Steve Kerr and John Paxson shots, and for the Lakers after the Robert Ory buzzer beater, Kobe was always the one taking those shots. So, and that leads me to my next point. So those three guys.
So before you say that, so you'd say, who's your top three right now?
Top three right now. I think MJ and Kobe are like this. I think they're 2A, 2B, and LeBron is above them.
So you do have LeBron.
I do have LeBron
Okay.
above them now. I didn't going into the season. I didn't before the playoff run.
Okay.
Just his longevity has been incredible. So this is what I got. So I have.
This is LeBron.
No, this is all three of them. This is
My fault.
all three of them. So MJ has the greatest legacy and he's the most glorified ever.
Yep, totally agree.
Kobe is the greatest scorer and has the greatest work ethic ever. LeBron is the greatest basketball player. That's what I have right now.
Yeah, I saw a thing on I forget what it was, but when you look for, we talked about this, but longevity and consistency, LeBron most definitely is LeBron. When you talk about like the greatest, maybe we'll say decade, maybe you gotta give it to MJ. I mean, 6 championships, 6 Finals MVPs, 2 3-peats. So in terms of kind of the greatest time span of like from the 90s to from 98, like Jordan was unbelievable. But when you talk about the overall career, LeBron 17 years, he's been the best player in the league for 16 of those years, and that might be too much. But in terms of longevity,
you don't rank the nine finals appearances above
10 finals.
Or the 10 finals appearances in 11 years. You don't rank that above Jordan's decade.
No. Well, in terms of
Like-
being more impressive, or
yes,
so LeBron's 10 finals appearances versus Jordan's six
rings.
Yeah,
I mean, I think LeBron had the tougher path, at least for the finals.
Yeah.
I would say. I think he had tougher finals matchups. Obviously, the East was the East for a
Yeah.
while, but
Well,
it's something to be said that he controlled the East the way he did.
No, I think I would like to answer your question. I would say MJ's rings are more impressive, but LeBron, he played the Warriors 4 times. The Warriors are the greatest team of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's tough to debate, but I would love to see what MJ could have done against them because they were unstoppable.
MJ had to go through a bunch of playoffs against plumbers and mechanics and
Accountants,
like I just don't I
That
can't put that above anything LeBron or Kobe has done besides the 6 ring.
Yeah, I mean I
can't.
You can't. This is a tough part to say right now, but imagine if like LeBron was 6-0. I mean, you can't. It's tough to say, but I think if like LeBron is 6-0, like there's no doubt LeBron is the best player of all time.
Well, you got to think too. I think the 2008 finals, that
2007, yeah.
2007 finals.
No right being there.
LeBron gets a mulligan.
No right being there.
There was no complimentary piece. LeBron took them on his back himself. And in the 2015 finals, he loses his two leading supporting guys, and he's left with Matthew Dellavedova and Tristan Thompson as supporting cast. So you got to think of that too. Jordan always had Pippen,
Right.
or he had Kukoc, or he had Rodman, or he had Horace Grant.
Yeah.
So those are two guys that were pretty esteemed for their time,
Right.
that contributed a lot to their success. But with Kobe and LeBron, you see more of the individual success leading to the team success,
Yeah.
where the Bulls were kind of a whole team and Michael Jordan was kind of the face.
Yeah. One of the biggest things I think you can take from LeBron is the 2011 finals against the Mavericks. That is one of the like the things that kills his resume the most. Like they were the favorites there. They should have won that. Obviously, the Mavericks were a great team, but like he didn't show up that year.
You don't think he's made up for it?
No, I 100% agree. But I'm saying that's like if you're an MJ lover or a Kareem or Kobe, you kind of pinpoint on that one being like, are you kidding me? Your best player didn't even show up in that finals.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean,
Coming back from 3-1, I think is one of the greatest accomplishments of LeBron's career. Like against the Warriors, against a 73-9 team, come back from down 3-1 and had 40, like a triple double and a triple double in 3 games. Like LeBron's the greatest basketball player of all time.
yes. He has the greatest physique. He has the greatest like one of the best IQs. Him and Kobe are kind of like this for like they were about the same as IQ.
You think so?
Because Kobe worked so hard, and when you have the work ethic in there, the IQ kind of comes with it.
True. I mean, I would definitely say Kobe's work ethic is higher. I just don't know.
Their
IQ based.
IQ, like some of the stories that I've heard about LeBron, like how he called out a play
From
for
the other
the
team.
Raptors, like he didn't know, and I think what was it, 2016, 15, that somebody didn't know the play coming into the game, and DeMar DeRozan was being guarded by LeBron, and LeBron told him the play.
Exactly. I think
So, and then there's been, if you guys get a chance to watch the Iman Shumpert interview where he talks about LeBron.
Oh my God, I've seen that.
Yeah, so that kind of speaks for LeBron, and
Yeah.
like I said, I think Kobe's work ethic and IQ kind of go hand in
Well,
hand.
yeah.
So I think their IQ is definitely about the same.
The biggest thing I'd say about like your Kobe argument is honestly it's not even his fault, but the one MVP hurts him.
The one MVP are big, like he was second in voting 3 times.
I know he should have at least 2 or 3.
Those 2 Nash
Yeah.
ones, I talked about it a couple weeks ago, but I said I wasn't going to get into it because I was trying to make an argument from Nash, but I can make the argument now. Steve Nash won an MVP scoring 20 points a game while Kobe had 30 and 8.
I don't even think he had 20.
I think it was like in the higher 19.
I think it was like 90. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so we add up to it.
Yeah. So it was something like that, and he averaged like a double, which is like great, like whatever. But Kobe had 30 and 8 in 2 consecutive seasons. I think one year he actually had like 33.
Yeah.
And so they take that away from him because
The Steve Nash MVP 2. I mean, maybe one of them just give it to him, but back to back. Are you kidding me? Come on.
I think LeBron and Kobe have experienced the most voter bias as opposed to them not wanting to give them the award every year.
You're 100% right. LeBron could have like 8, and Kobe could have at least probably 5.
Yep. People forget that after Shaq left, Kobe was pretty much the best player in the
He's
world.
putting like 30 plus every year.
Kobe was pretty much the best player in the world until he tore his Achilles.
When he tore his Achilles?
He tore his Achilles in 2012 when Dwight Howard got there. Dwight Howard and Steve Nash got there.
I think LeBron had already had it.
That was
After
that was
Kobe's
LeBron's
championship.
first year on the Heat. I think LeBron held the title for the best player in the world during his first year with the Heat.
LeBron had it or Kobe did?
Kobe had it. Kobe had it until he tore his Achilles, and then the year he tore his Achilles was LeBron's first year on the Heat, so it was the same year.
Okay, that's not bad. Because Kobe won in 2010, right?
Yeah, 2010.
And then 11 was the Mavericks.
11 was the Mavericks.
Okay, so and then you're saying after the Mavericks series when LeBron won his first championship, that was the year that LeBron was best player in the NBA?
Yes.
It's not bad.
So and MJ didn't really have those issues because everyone was just MJ, Bulls. And that's why he was, like I said, he's the most glorified, and he has the greatest legacy to go along with it because he got all these awards during the entirety of his career, but it doesn't match up to like where Kobe is on the all-time leaderboard, where LeBron is on the all-time leaderboard in certain categories like points, like assists, like rebounds, like finals appearances.
Yeah.
So I think it's
the 10 or 8 straight finals appearances is nuts.
Yeah, I'm so sick and tired of everyone discrediting that because he lost in the finals, even though there was nothing he could do.
So he
most of the
had
time.
so he has 4 championships in 10 years.
Mm.
I would say the 2007 series you can't even count honestly.
Mhm.
The Mavericks one obviously that hurts.
He has 2
And he won-
major finals losses that could have gone either way.
What's the second one? Obviously the
Spurs.
Mavericks and the
Spurs the last year with the Heat.
yeah, because they lost 4-1 I think.
They lost 4-1, and they had everyone. They weren't missing anybody.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forget that series honestly because Spurs just ran over them.
People forget the Spurs in general because the Spurs were just like so fundamentally sounded. Everyone wanted to watch them.
They're so good.
Passing and everything.
They
And
won-
they were just longevity
they
wise,
like-
they were amazing.
They won like a championship every other year,
Mhm.
like the 2000s. Tim Duncan is who do you think? You think he's the best power forward of all time? Tim Duncan?
He probably has the best resume, but I think Dirk was the better basketball player. I think
I haven't won two, but I have Tim Duncan just because of the finals. But
I gotta have Dirk and Kevin Garnett better than.
really,
Yeah, just as far as like basketball player
Yeah.
wise, because KG his years with the Timberwolves were amazing,
animal.
and like you hadn't really seen somebody like he was KD-esque before KD was even a thought.
Yeah, but he couldn't shoot like him though.
He could for like obviously he
He's a knockdown shooter.
No, yeah, he's a knockdown shooter, but like you see all these little game clips of him just taking open jump shots and like transition and stuff like that. Obviously, he wasn't a 3-point shooter, but he was a jump shooter.
I've never been a huge fan of KG. I respect his game, but he didn't have the career he wasn't as good like for so many years in terms of Dirk and Tim Duncan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Tim Duncan, his stats and his finals championships put him over Dirk Nowitzki.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we haven't even talked. We're almost done with this, but like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he's probably my third on my. It goes LeBron, MJ, Kareem.
See,
He has so many records.
He has so
6
many-
MVPs, 5 finals.
well, he
championships.
played in a big men dominant era where like
The era-
he came in as the NBA was kind of transitioning into a more balanced league, but like he came in after like Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain were there, and like he wasn't very far removed from that.
It's
that
tough
big
to
men dominant
compare
era.
eras, especially from
Yeah.
like comparing Bill Russell with Kareem, where those guys stack up against everyone else.
Right.
That's why I'm curious to see like where Bill Russell's in people's top 10.
Yeah.
Some people have him at like 3, some people have him at like 10.
Mm.
And he's one of those because he played in with 8 guys in the NBA or 8
Yeah.
teams in the NBA.
The last point I want to make about LeBron before we move on is I think what has made him great is what he's done after 30. After 30, he's kind of gotten all the rest of the accolades that he was chasing from the time he entered the league.
Right.
And MJ and Kobe didn't really have that longevity. His longevity has been something we've never seen in sports, let alone the NBA.
And you probably will never see it again. I know obviously like there's the future, no idea what's gonna happen, but watching them, it's
We're-
unbelievable. I don't have no words to describe it just because he's been so freaking good.
Yeah, when I don't know who we have next up for like a LeBron type personality in the NBA, like because you're gonna lose LeBron within the next 5-6 years or so.
Without LeBron in the league, it's gonna be
It's gonna be so different.
It's gonna be even weirder probably with I obviously can't speak for when MJ left,
Mhm.
but I think it's gonna leave even more of an impact.
Well, yeah, I think it's gonna be like that sort of hiatus that you had in the NBA where Jordan left to go play baseball and there was no
That's why it
face of
wasn't
the
as
league.
yeah.
There was no face of the like.
Because
obviously-
Hakeem won 2 in a row, but like you're not gonna kind of get around Hakeem at like a big it's tough for I feel like a big guy to be the face of the league.
Yeah, it's hard for any big man to be the face of the league outside of the 1970s.
Yeah.
I would say, but yeah, it's just.
But when LeBron retires, you know it's gonna be for good, and that's gonna be like just a whole.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a whole new world, not even just a whole new sports.
Yeah.
NBA world.
The sports landscape is going to look a lot different for when LeBron leaves, and I think that also speaks to like
His
that's a
greatness.
point we didn't even make in the GOAT conversation is what he's done outside of basketball.
And we could talk about that for days.
Yeah, he's established so many things, and he makes it such a point to be more than an athlete,
Yeah.
and I think that makes him I think that should boost his argument a little more.
In terms of like greatest of all time, even without
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah, because he takes the greatest of all time label and turns it into somebody that or something that everyone could be a part of.
Right. His I Promise School. That's one of the best things that I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Every student that goes there, graduates, gets free education from college. They get like free bikes, they get free food. Their teachers get like all their stuff paid for. The parents get education.
Mm-hmm.
Like he said it's the most
His greatest accomplishment.
greatest accomplishment. Yep.
Yeah.
And I honestly can't really argue with that.
Yeah, and you didn't really see before LeBron started doing it when you didn't really see athletes talking about political issues and talking about the landscape of the world. And I think that's kind of translated to what you've seen with Colin Kaepernick, what you've seen with the NFL, and a lot of what you've seen for social injustices, their advocacy for that in the NBA right now is if LeBron doesn't talk about those issues, you don't really you might not see
But
the
not-
same sort
right,
of
LeBron
landscape
is-
that they've laid out for social inequality.
LeBron is the face of the NBA, and if you don't have the face of the NBA bring up these issues, I don't even know if they would have like everything that they had in the bubble,
Mhm.
just because LeBron was so influential in that.
Exactly.
And that's, again, that speaks to his greatness and his on and off, just, that he's amazing.
Mhm. Yeah, he's definitively, we both think, the greatest ever,
Mm-hmm.
in conclusion.
Yeah.